everyone, and welcome to Connect TV. My name is Katie Laquadara, Senior Conference Producer with Informa Connect. Today, I will be speaking with Parth Chanda, founder and CEO of Lextegrity. Thanks so much for being here with me today, Parth. First, to start off, I'd love if you could tell us a little bit about your background on yourself and Lextegrity.
Great. Thanks so much, Katie, for having me. I'm Parth Chanda, as you mentioned. I'm founder and CEO of Lextegrity. We are an enterprise software company. I'll obviously talk in a lot more detail about that. I am a compliance lawyer by training. I am really specialized in FCPA, healthcare compliance, anti-kickback statute compliance. I spent about a decade in-house, 7 of which I was at Pfizer. I led their global anti-corruption program, as well as led compliance for their global oncology business. So I had experience with their FCPA matter that ended up in a deferred prosecution agreement, and matters with patient assistance foundations that ended up in a CIA after I had left. So I had a lot of really deep experience working in real high stakes matters, and also in terms of implementing systems and controls. In 2017, I decided to leave Pfizer to launch Lextegrity because I really didn't see good solutions from a technology perspective in the marketplace. And I wanted to really build the dream system I wish I had when I was in-house. I partnered with a couple of other in-house former auditors and compliance professionals, and we launched Lextegrity. And our purpose and goal is really to develop technology and provide technology that's off the shelf, but really powerful to prevent and detect counterparty and spend risks using a mix of data analytics and automation. So risks related to bribery, corruption, kickbacks, sanctions, conflicts of interest, et cetera. And we're really differentiated in terms of what we offer in that we look at the entire life cycle of risk, from front-end budget approval workflows around HCP engagements, grants, donations, and sponsorship, conflicts of interest, third-party onboarding, all the way through to using data analytics to monitor your enterprise spend data. So applying advanced analytics to your data from systems like SAP, Concur, Oracle, ag spend systems alike. And so really, have had a lot of experience working with global pharma, biotech, and med device companies. And our technology has been fairly battle tested now in front of regulators as well. We've appeared in 3 FCPA monitorships. Our software was cited in Alexion's FCPA resolution as a remediation factor. So yeah, very excited to be here today and share a little bit more.
Excellent. Thank you. Now, we know that Lextegrity is at the forefront of next generation compliance technology. And one of the things you emphasize is utilizing data more effectively to meet the DOJ's expectations. Can you talk us through the challenges you see when you speak to life sciences companies around the use of data in their programs?
Yeah, definitely. So let's start with the DOJ's proclamations and their updated guidance last year. I think they put a real clear stake in the ground in terms of their expectations that compliance, audit, and other functions have, one, access to data, but beyond access to data, to actually use that data analytically to test policies, procedures, the program itself, transactions, et cetera. To do that in a much more real-time way, as opposed to periodic, and do it using fairly more sophisticated analytics than random sampling or basic analytics. And so the challenge with that is, and they've obviously have seen very advanced companies come before them, and so that has raised the standard in their eyes. The challenge is, for many companies, that's very difficult today. Data is often sitting in silos throughout the organization. You may have access, but you don't have access in a clear and easy way to get in that data, and getting it and then joining it all together to perform analytics on that data is particularly difficult. So when we think about that life cycle that I mentioned, a lot of processes may be in place around HCP engagements, grants and donations, third-party onboarding that are in different systems, that are in silos, that don't talk to one another, that don't connect. And then your enterprise data from your financial systems, your ag spend systems, et cetera, may not be brought in somewhere centrally, and you may not be performing really advanced data analytics on that data. So we really look at this as something that we looked at this at Lextegrity as something that really needed an end-to-end solution. Before us, there really wasn't one in the marketplace. So really bringing technology to address the DOJ guidance head on, bringing data analytics on your spend on the detective side at the end of the process, and bringing technology on the front end workflow, approval, and diligence side to prevent things from happening and contracts from being signed before significant issues arise.
I see. So how would you say an organization can go about solving that challenge? And how does Lextegrity attempt to solve this challenge for customers in the life sciences sector?
Yeah, great question. So, from a data analytics perspective, maybe if I start there, we take a really different approach in terms of risk scoring. So we risk score transactions, ideally 100% of your spend items. So all of your invoice, your distributor transactions, your ad spend transactions, your expense line items from your Concur or other expense systems, everything goes through the system and has analytics applied to it in the same way to give each transaction an aggregated risk score. Now, that's really important because often compliance teams and audit teams are working on a sample basis and really looking where they think they should be looking, where you may have problems in areas or countries or markets or business units where you're not heavily focused. And so, if you take the analogy of buying a car, Consumer Reports will assess a car and rate a car based on multiple factors. We're doing kind of the same thing for each spend item and in an automated way. So this is happening real time in the background, daily or weekly. And then what we're doing, really helping companies implement these really sophisticated tools out of the box without needing to hire armies of consultants, et cetera. But then what we're doing is we're bringing in that data, those aggregated risk scores, giving the compliance team and audit team and investigations teams workflows to manage those and escalate those transactions and follow up with them and document everything in one place, use that data to inform live monitoring, speaker audits, ride-alongs, et cetera, and then visualizing that data because you're only going to have escalated to you those highest risk, small percentage of transactions. But since you have risk scored everything, giving you visualizations to explore all of your data to really your heart's content from a risk perspective. So not just looking at the highest spend HCPs, but looking at them with each with a risk lens of applying more sophisticated data analytics to their transactions. So that's on the data analytics side. We're really helping organizations find those needles in a haystack using technology in a way that's very, very difficult, if not impossible, for humans to do in the traditional kind of audit monitoring model, and then using machine learning and AI to improve that model over time. And then we take the approach of really thinking about data analytics on the front end of that process as well. So we have a whole really broad workflow engine that supports things as from HCP engagements, grants and donations, patient engagements, annual needs assessments, et cetera, political contributions, and bringing data analytics there as well to automate fair market value, to automate aggregate spend caps, et cetera, provide context analytics so that you can make determinations, compliance, legal, and others can make determinations before an HCP is even engaged or a patient assistance donation, et cetera, is even provided. So it's really that kind of end-to-end process that we enable using technology.
Excellent. Yeah, that sounds very impressive. Is there anything you can show our audience that would bring this to life a little bit for them?
Yeah, wonderful. So let me share my screen for a second here. Can you see that okay?
Yes, looks great.
All right, great. So as I mentioned, we have those two sides of our application, the monitoring and the pre-approval workflow system. So this is going to be a real whistle-stop tour just in a couple of minutes, but happy to spend some more time with folks after the call. So I'm going to dive in first to the continuous monitoring solution. So that, as I mentioned, has really three core components. It has the monitoring review area where we are risk scoring transactions and escalating those for review, those highest risk transactions. Then it has this risk insights visualization engine. Now that we've risk scored 100% of your items. We're going to give you this powerful visualization engine. And then we have this compliance program scorecard that visualizes your compliance program KPIs, which is a nice benefit for compliance officers not to have to create manually PowerPoints every month for their board and C-suite, et cetera. But maybe to jump over to the settings area, this is really the brains of our data analytics solution. What we are doing here is providing our customers with a library of forensic data analyses that are behavioral, statistical anomaly detection, policy-based, out of the box, without a single data engineer, data scientist, forensic auditor needed in the company. So we have those 4 domains: customer revenue, employee spend, transparency, HCX, and vendor spend, vendor invoice. The customer revenue is launching relatively soon. But the key point here is that these analyses exist out of the box. The types of analyses you could spend millions of dollars developing with a Big Four accounting firm, they all exist out of the box, and they're highly configurable by you to turn them on or off, change the weighting, all the way through to changing scoring criteria for each analysis. So all of these analyses, again, we could spend an hour just on the analyses, but all of these analyses come together and are applied together to drive a risk score for that transaction. So here in the monitoring review area, you can see an invoice that has a 5.0 because it has 4 different analyses that it has a match for from a risk perspective. And so what we're doing here is that we're giving your internal compliance, audit, investigations colleague a forensic digital file on this specific transaction, giving you a whole bunch of detail from the source systems, as well as a narrative explanation for that risk score. Why is it risky? Let's explain it to you to save you a lot of time so you can get to the heart of the matter. And if it is something that needs to be followed up upon, there's a full workflow with an audit trail from the follow-on steps all the way through to corrective action plans and remediation, et cetera, that can be driven from here. It could be live monitoring, could be auditing, could be training, et cetera. So that's the workflow that's going to impact a small percentage of your transactions that are the highest risk. But you have now risk scored all of your transactions. So what we're doing in the risk insights area is giving you a data-driven risk assessment and visualization tool, where now you can see your countries compared against one another, not from a corruption perception index perspective, but from where the true data risks are, where your spend-related risks are. So now I can compare Russia to China to Mexico, and then I can explore and drill down on this data as far as I want. So I can go from the country down to the specific vendors and employees in that country. And maybe I want to drill down into Laura here and look at her specific transactions and her profile. So I can then pull up all of her expenses, risk scored, where she is on every analysis, all in seconds. So this is a really powerful tool for investigators that we've seen from our clients as well, in that it really helps them not have to wait for finance and IT to get them data weeks later. They can come in, they can find risk scored information in seconds. This is also really powerful for audit, the live monitoring team, et cetera. So those are the core elements of our continuous monitoring tool. Maybe just to spend the last few minutes on our pre-approval workflow tool. This is the kind of front end that the business user would have to use. This is usable across desktop and mobile in over a dozen languages today. And it can support really any types of workflows. Common ones we see are HCP engagements, annual needs assessments, external funding, donations, sponsorships, third-party due diligence, et cetera. So again, highly user-friendly and focused, and really reliant on core data. We plug into master data systems like Viva and IQVIA and others as well. So again, you can spend a lot of time. This is just kind of a whistle-stop tour, but I hope that helped, Katie. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Parth. That was really helpful. Any recommendations for where our audience can go to hear more about this?
Yeah, sure. Well, you can always reach out to me. I'm always happy to connect with fellow compliance, audit, and investigations peers. I'm at P Chanda, PCHANDA at Lextegrity.com. You can always go to our website, Lextegrity.com. There's a lot of case studies, resources, white papers there as well. We'll also be at the monitoring and data analytics conference in Philadelphia in February. So we look forward to seeing you all there. So thanks so much.
Excellent. Thank you, Parth. Thank you so much for your time today, for all the insights that you've shared with our compliance and legal community. And thanks everyone for tuning in today. We'll see you next time.